Okay. List at least 2 languages spoken in Taiwan. Do you guys know any? Taiwanese Chinese, Mandarin Chinese, Hokkien. Hey. Yeah, I think you guys got the gist of it. So all the languages you guys had in the chat, they're all set in Taiwan. Second question, which two countries influenced Taiwanese language the most? It's like a hit or miss question, but I think you guys can get it. Anyone else want to say anything? Nini said something. Okay, yes. So it is China and Japan. We'll be going a little bit more into the history later on, but we'll just move on to this third question for now. You can just like list 1 or 2 differences. What are some differences between Mandarin spoken in China and Taiwan? There's actually quite a few. We'll see how much you guys know. Accent words, word choice. Yeah, that kind of like pretty much sums it up. There's definitely, you guys probably heard of like how the town, like when you go to like, if someone from like Taiwan goes to China, you can hear someone's Taiwanese accent and people will be able to tell right away that, oh yeah, they're from Taiwan, not China. And yes, there's some difference in words. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to our 4th question. Is Hokkien only spoken in Taiwan? So it's a tricky one. No, we gotta know. Does anyone want to say yes or no? Okay, yes. Hokkien is not just said in Taiwan. It's actually said in many different countries. I think our Hokkien group's going to go into that a little bit more too. I'm not going to spoil it for them. We'll just keep going.
Okay, yeah, so I'm going to get into some background information before we get into some of our other details, diving into some of the language differences. So as a little bit of background to Taiwanese language and culture is starting in the 17th century. It started with the migration of the Han Dynasty Chinese people from mainland China. And these settlers kind of belong primarily to 2 original groups, which were Hakka and Fujianese. And because of this, and as well as a lot of the other indigenous people, Taiwan now has a large blend of different indigenous languages, as well as Hakka and Hokkien, which we'll be diving into a little bit more in this workshop, which is a dialect originally from the southern Fujian province. In English and Mandarin in Taiwan, Hokkien is kind of referred to as like the Taiwanese language, but it's not commonly called that in mainland China. And kind of from like the 17th century until Japanese takeover, which I'm going to get into in a little bit, there was kind of a big mixture of these languages at the time. Yeah, and then so basically when the Japanese kind of took over, they started a bunch of pretty vast educational reforms around Taiwan, and one of these was basically that all of these was taught in Japanese. And so what ended up happening is a lot of that generation and current elderly people in Taiwan, such as a lot of people's grandparents, only really speak a dialect such as Hokkien or Hakka, and as well, a lot of them know a good bit of Japanese because of this. And so, like for example, my grandparents, they knew Hakka growing up, and then my grandmother actually knows Japanese pretty fluently, and only learned like Mandarin more over the past couple decades rather than in her childhood, as is more common nowadays. And then so example for like in the Taiwanese language, there's a lot of Japanese loanwords because of this influence from their colonial role. Example, the word apple, which is now considered normal, a lot of them are similar, as well as the idea, excuse my pronunciation, of goyu, which is when people refer to that nowadays, a lot of the time you, especially in Taiwan, they assume you're talking about Taiwanese Mandarin. But when the term first became more commonly used, people were normally referring to the Japanese language, and that's kind of shifted over time. Okay, and then so getting into the KMT era, starting from like the Chinese Civil Wars in the 1940s, as more people started coming over to Taiwan, Mandarin Chinese kind of became its takeover in Taiwan. In 1945, the KMT party set Mandarin Chinese as the official language of Taiwan. And one of the consequences of this was that during the White Terror period, which we got into a little bit at our history workshop last semester, is that they started to create a stigma against using mother tongues or languages other than Mandarin. And so, for example, at school, there would be a repercussion if you were to use or speak Hokkien or any other indigenous languages, that you would be forced to wear a taboo plaque, kind of similar to like the scarlet letter A from the book, which would prompt bullying and discrimination at school, as well as in media at the time. Only kind of characters that you would see who would speak Taiwanese would be those who are like uneducated, hobos, gangsters, or characters that are only there for comic relief. And so you wouldn't see a lot of positive representation in the media or in the surroundings at school or anything. And so that resulted in a lot of that generation either not learning or not really wanting to speak Taiwanese or Hokkien or anything else due to the kind of the lack of representation that they were feeling. While it shifted more into, so nowadays, pretty much every Taiwanese person under the age of like 30 or 40, they more commonly grew up speaking traditional Mandarin. Yeah, and so this is a short video that we're going to watch, kind of talking about some of that.
Oh, I think you might have to unshare and then reshare with the sound.
Okay, let me edit that.
In my time, when I was in second grade or first grade, second grade, or even at kindergarten time, I remember all my teachers says they were using Japanese for conversation, between their talking. I said, oh, I kind of used to it. But I think after my third grade, then one of my teacher was a lady, and she's Chinese. And when she speaks Chinese to us, and I look at her, I say, wow, who is this lady? What's she talking about? It seems like so far away from, the teachers I know used to be all Taiwanese, and all of a sudden the Chinese teacher seems like, for us, it's a shock.
You are the same, right? 仁爱 primary school. I think that time most of Taiwanese are very little, probably 10%. Why isn't, right? I think like a majority is Taiwanese people.
Almost 99% of Taiwanese. So actually, we all speak Taiwanese to each other. But I think starting my second grade or third grade, I think that at that time, education system just started emphasize everybody should speak Chinese. You cannot speak Taiwanese at all.
They make you speak Mandarin that time. If you don't say, they right away, anybody here can give you a kind of a ticket. They say, you didn't say Mandarin, they have to fine money.
How much money?
I don't remember that time the way they, anyway. 10塊？無來10塊，仲話大咧，1塊。
They have some kind of sign. If somebody got caught speaking Taiwanese, then the teacher or some kind of supervisor will say, you got caught. So I think one penalty, like you have to pay $1 for fine, and you also put some kind of sign on your neck, say, I spoke Taiwanese. That was a mistake, or something like that. Gradually, people don't sing Taiwanese song anymore because that a lot of songs is forbidden. And then, yeah, it seems like gradually, I think everything's shifting from Taiwanese style of life and to Chinese way. Yeah.
無啦，唔過無啥啥，本來再去要帶去指南宮，你知指南宮，過來要去宜花街好，嘛是講哦，面上面來。
All right, so let's jump right into the Chinese comparison portion of our event. So this is where we're going to differentiate between Standard Chinese Mandarin and Taiwanese Mandarin. All right, so we're going to do a little Kahoot. I will show you guys the code for it. Give me a sec. Let me be sure. All right, let's get started. How do you say pineapple in Chinese? Yeah, so bolo and fengli are both ways to say pineapple in Chinese. And we're going to kind of explain why that is in our future slides. Okay, and another question. Nice. Clean sweep. All right.
Please stay on the Kahoot. Don't delete it yet because we're actually going to be using it later on.
We're going to be continuing this after we get through some slides. Okay, let me reshare my screen. All right. Yeah, so first let's kind of define what Mandarin is. So Mandarin Chinese is a language, and it's the most widely spoken language in Taiwan currently. And many phrases or the words in Taiwanese Mandarin are influenced by the Taiwanese language. And Mandarin versions in Taiwan and in mainland China only have a few pronunciation or vocabulary differences. So kind of think of it as Spanish in Latin America versus Spanish in Spain. So this slide kind of differentiates between traditional Chinese, simplified Chinese, and Taiwanese Hokkien. So first, with traditional Chinese, they typically use zhuoying or bopomofo, and their words are more rich in meaning, and it's usually the standard form of Chinese for all Chinese-speaking regions, and it's mainly used by Chinese speakers in Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Macau. And then on the other hand, we have simplified Chinese, and it's pretty noticeable with its more simplified strokes. As you can see in the picture below, we have a image showing the difference between traditional and simplified words. And as you can tell, there's a very obvious stroke reduction and the merged characters. And it takes less time to write, and it's usually easier to write as well. And it's used by both Mandarin speakers living in mainland China, Malaysia, and Singapore. And then we have Taiwanese Hokkien, which is understood by over half of the people living in Taiwan. It's less popular in terms of speaking, and it's frequently used by older generations in Taiwan, and more specifically popular in southern Taiwan. Personally, my grandparents live in Kaohsiung, and they both can speak Taiwanese Hokkien very fluently and would often speak it with my mom and with me sometimes as well. So now we are going to introduce our guest speakers. We have Havana Tung, who is a Taiwanese speaker, and Yuchuan Yu, who is a Chinese speaker.
I'm so bad with this. How do I? Those spotlight I can do, right? How do I? I can add spotlights. Hold on. Okay. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves first?
Yeah, I think I'll go first. So, hi, my name is Havana, and I was born in Taiwan, Taipei, and my dad is actually Taiwanese, but my mom is from the Philippines. And before I came to Pitt, I actually lived in mainland China for 12 years. So like I only like spent maybe like 6 years of my childhood in Taiwan. Yeah.
Okay, everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm Yichuan. I was born in China. I'm still a Chinese citizen. I came to the US 2015 for college, and now I'm in my master program of epidemiology. Thanks.
Thank you for introducing yourselves. So for this section, we're kind of gonna get started by comparing how people in China would say some words and how people in Taiwan would say some words, and there's different sections of it. So for example, there's different pronunciations for the same words. Some examples, aunt in China you say like 阿姨, and in Taiwan you say 阿姨 or 阿姨. And in grades, there's also different ways of saying it. China is like 成绩, and then 成绩 actually, and in Taiwan they 成绩. Almost 差一点 and then 差一点. So there's like various minor accent differences, but it definitely does, like, you know, people can tell if you're like from Taiwan, China with those little differences. So we're gonna I'm gonna basically how it's gonna go, it's gonna kind of be like a interview away, I'm gonna be saying like an English word, and Yichan's gonna say like the Chinese version, and then Havana's gonna say the Taiwanese versions. And if there's any words you guys want like a more explanation for, or you want to hear the pronunciation again, please let us know. We'll probably be also explaining some of the more weird words, or like some ones that are more interesting for you guys. So yeah, let's get started. We, how do you say that in Chinese?
我们 is that we like us or?
I think you also said like Zanmen or something like that.
Oh, 咱们 is more casual. So you say that with somebody you're really close with, and usually this northern mainland Chinese people use more 咱们 than 我们.
Same, pretty much the same. 我们.
Okay. Look forward to.
I don't know how to translate this. Like, do you mean like looking forward to by physically looking forward to, or looking forward to the future?
For example, like, I look forward to meeting you.
Okay. Well, then that's a little bit different. I feel like looking forward to meet you is more like a hope. So a hope in Chinese is 希望. If you're physically looking forward to, I don't think anybody uses it, but it's 向前看.
How do you say physically then?
向前看.
Okay.
Well, I would say 期待.
期待. Yeah, I saw Sabrina also put that in there.
That's pretty good.
What about trash?
No, trash is a little bit. So in China, trash is 垃圾.
垃圾 in Taiwan.
Grades? Oh no, we went through that. Include.
Include? Okay. 包括.
包括.
Asia.
亚洲.
亚洲.
It sounds like a Chinese language quiz.
So that's kind of like it for like the pronunciation part, and then let's go to the next part really quickly. So there's also different ways of expressing the same word. Example, idiot. China will say 笨蛋. Taiwan will say 白痴. Pineapple, this is like a little bit controversial one now, but before the incident that happened recently, China will say 菠萝, and then Taiwan will say 凤梨. Bicycle, 自行车, Taiwan, 脚踏车. But I guess we can go a little bit into the pineapple one actually right now. I don't know if anyone heard of the recent events, but do any of you guys know the recent event? Do you guys want to explain to the people?
I do.
Okay, do you want to explain it?
I'm a pretty big fan of politics and economics. From what I heard, they detect a few pests in the pineapple imported from the Taiwan, and so they reject all the Taiwan pineapple products for the next few months. So what happened is I think the Taiwan's government is asking people to eat a lot of pineapples a day. That's what I heard. I'm not sure if this is accurate or not. But if you talk with Bolo or Fengli, the mainland Chinese will know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so because of this incident, I've been hearing that China has been referring to Taiwanese pineapples as Fengli now, and they'll refer to their own pineapple grown in mainland China as bolo still. So just like a little minor differences now, I think. What about Mandarin? How do you say in China?
If you're talking about Mandarin language, it's 中文. If you're talking about Mandarin language as a subject, it's 语文. If you learn that in a school textbook, so that's a little bit different.
I think you also mentioned like 普通话, right?
普通话 is speaking Mandarin Chinese.
Speaking Mandarin Chinese.
Well, it's okay. So this is a little bit long. This is a long story. There's also Cantonese speaking Cantonese Chinese, right? And the Cantonese lose one vote back to the 1949 when they're trying to determine which one is supposed to be the 普通话, and the Mandarin Chinese they won one more vote, so 普通话 becomes the major general speaking in the mainland now. Right.
Okay, so in Taiwan, the Mandarin language would be 国语, and or also like refer to 中文. But if the subject that you learn in school, that it would be 国文.
I think Mia also mentioned this before, like 国语 is like national language. So basically in Taiwan, since there was like a lot of colonization going on, it was originally, I would say, like Taiwanese, and then when Japan took over, it became Japanese, and then when KMT took over, it was Mandarin Chinese, and then now it's kind of like still Chinese as our national language, but there has been like a growing effort to try to help Taiwan become our national language again. Just a little bit something interesting. What about middle school and elementary school?
Middle school in China, well, there are two different kind of middle schools. The lower level middle. Oh, that's high school. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So the middle school in China is called 初中 and Havana.
It's 国中 in Taiwan.
And elementary school. Oh yeah, elementary school in China is 小学.
And in Taiwan is 国小, and it's actually abbreviation for 国民小学. I think it's like national elementary school, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, we don't have abbreviations. That's just 小学 is 小学.
Something everyone's heard about if you're ever like, in Asia, the big test, or what you guys call SAT, I guess. The SAT for China and Taiwan.
Oh yeah, so we don't have SAT. Well, you can take SAT.
Analogy.
Well, it's sort of similar things, but you can take SAT a lot of times in a year, but you can only take the Chinese SAT once a year. So we call it as 高考, as the high school, college entrance.
Yeah, it's 学测 in Taiwan, and interesting story is just like I actually like didn't know about it like until recent years. So like every time I came back, my cousins were just talking about, oh, I'm going to take the 学测 soon. I was like, what are you talking about? So like, yeah, that's a new word that I learned recent years, I guess.
And how many times you can take a year? Do you know that?
I think once a year. It's just pretty much the same.
Yeah, I think it's standard around Asia. Like I know China, Taiwan, Korea have their own like big test in high school, and it's only like once a year. You miss it, you have to retake it the following year.
So in China, it's June the 6th and 7th. Okay, when I was taking it in 2015, it's June 6th and 7th. But because of COVID, the delay this year since 1949. First time ever.
Yeah, COVID definitely got higher power. We're a little running low on time, so I'll keep going. I guess one of the phrases one of the board members wanted us to talk about was ice cream.
Oh, 冰淇淋.
I said 冰淇淋 as well.
Ooh, one of the websites we found said as like 雪糕. I don't know how accurate that is.
雪糕, the old people in China say 雪糕.
Oh, okay.
My grandma says 雪糕. My two grandmas say 雪糕, but my dad doesn't say 雪糕 anymore.
So it's kind of like an older term now.
I think, yeah, I think.
Okay, let's move on to our next section. So obviously there's, you guys might have heard of this, but people in Asia, they use a lot of numbers when they text, or maybe not a lot, but they do use some numbers to text. Yu-Chen, do you want to explain those 3 numbers you put up there?
Okay, well, I'm gonna say as the same with what we discussed on Monday. So, so the 1314 is 1314. It sounds like 一生一世, right? So what does that mean? So it means that I'm gonna be with you forever. And 520 is I love you. Sounds like I love you, 我爱你 in Chinese. So those two people don't text each other by those two, but they give people the red pocket on WeChat. Especially during Christmas and those different events going on. Usually it's a guys pay girls and girls never pay back. But the third one is the couple of sixes. Those are like more like a description of you're doing something so good and you're gonna win very quickly. Yeah, that's more. It's from a game. It's people play games like those people play video games. They've been saying that, and it's sooner becomes a really international word, internet word. That's my comment.
Okay, so in Taiwan, these are the common combination of numbers that are popular. So for 543, it's like saying someone being nonsense. But I think this comes from more like a Taiwanese Hokkien reference, I guess. It's not necessarily like Mandarin. And 80 is 80, and it means like bully, because like the bully in Chinese, in Mandarin is like 80. And 88, 爸爸, it's bye bye, it's like bye. It sounds similarly. And 377, 377, it's 生气, like I'm angry, and you would just like text 377. And 484, 484, it sounds similar, like 是不是, like right, you know. And 94, 94 sounds like 就是. It's like it's just something like just, you know. And the last one, 38, I feel like this one is like more interesting because 38 actually, like, I think the reference is comes from like International Women's Day. So it's like March the 8th, right? And I think it actually like refers to, at first, initially at least, like refers to some like woman that is really like gossiping about something. And this is, but like I feel like now it's like it's not only refers, it's not like only refers to like women. It's like everyone. You can actually call everyone samba, you know. Yeah.
So like the definition kind of like changed now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely read like there was like a negative connotation back in the day, although it's like kind of unclear where it came from, but it's nice to see now it's definitely changed its meaning. Next section, please. Okay, so I'm gonna go over a little bit of what loan words and the different definitions mean. So transliteration is like kind of like changing the character word of one language into like a similar sounding character words of another language, and it helps with like pronunciation. You see this very commonly in like menus or restaurant names, store names, etc. So a really basic one is lao mian. It's like lo mian or lo mein, what you see in like a lot of those American menus. Loan translation is like the word or phrase borrowed from another language, and you kind of like take the word for word root translation. I couldn't really find a really, I think autocorrect made that. I couldn't really find a good one for Chinese, so I took a Latin example. So Latin translation, remove the N from translation, is basically translate in English. So it's basically very similar. You just like take it meaning. And then lower is kind of like the combination of the two. It's like you're borrowing it. It kind of like takes it from another language and it kind of like gives it more meaning. An example of this is the character water shui is used to describe pretty. Havana, do you want to like really quickly describe that or explain that?
Like shui can also be like good, something good, and an example would be jing sui, like it's really good in Taiwanese Hokkien.
Another example is jing kai, very cute. Basically the word jing, it's like the character for gold, but it also sounds like the word very in Taiwanese. And also, like you guys know, boba, QQ, actually means chewy technically, and it's from Taiwanese words, but now it's been like passed down as a colloquial word and colloquial phrase, and now the QQ, which was used to describe chewy, is now to describe like that chewy texture. Another thing I do want to bring up before we end this section is that same words can have very different meaning, and this is like one of the very common ones. So in Taiwan, 小姐 means miss, but in China it can mean like prostitute or the B word. So just a little heads up, if you want to say like, so 小姐 is kind of like miss, girl. If you want to say that in China, say 姐姐 instead, don't say 小姐. Oh yeah, just a little bit something interesting.
Okay, so we're going to jump right into Taiwanese Hokkien, also known as Tai-gi. So a little quick introduction. It is spoken, as we mentioned before, by the majority of Taiwan, in addition to Mandarin Chinese, and then is usually referred to as Taiwanese Hokkien or Tai-gi. In 2017, it became an official language of Taiwan as part of the Indigenous Languages Development Act. And that act also included Hakka and 16 other languages of Taiwan's indigenous tribes. As of lately, there's been a movement of a lot of people wanting to kind of reconnect with their roots and learn Taiwanese in order to be able to use it. And Taiwanese Hokkien, is similar to other forms of Hokkien. And many of these differences are just a result of geographical variance.
So here we can see a graph line chart depicting the number of percentage of people in Taiwan of 7th and 8th grade students who speak either Hokkien, Mandarin, or both. So the orange line is Hokkien and blue line is Mandarin. The green line is Hokkien and Mandarin, and then the gray line is people who speak Hakka and others. So yeah, you can tell that not a lot of people, or there's a decreasing amount of percentage of people speaking Hokkien, and like with increasing numbers of people speaking Mandarin in Taiwan.
mentioned, there is a resurgence of Taiwanese Hokkien being learned because it was actually being categorized as a dying language for a long time by UNESCO, which the official term is endangered language, which basically means it wasn't taught in schools and was spoken by 70% or less of the population, which, if you do the math, means that it would be basically unusable for daily activities within 2 to 3 generations. So that's kind of worrying. So nowadays there is a growing interest in the younger generation to learn Taiwanese. And actually in 2018, the Taiwanese government passed the National Languages Development Act, granting equal protections to all national languages and ensuring that citizens would be able to use them when accessing public services. So this act not only helped Taiwanese Hokkien, but also the other indigenous languages and even Taiwanese sign language. A little bit more about the National Languages Development Act. You can see here that the goal is, as I said earlier, to ensure the ongoing development of Taiwan's diverse languages and cultures, and essentially to help foster and maintain that rich culture and language history that Taiwan has. And the National Languages Development Act was passed in 2018, but it also builds on the 2017 Indigenous Languages Development Act. Because with the National Languages Development Act in 2018, there is now legal foundation for the revitalization and preservation efforts of the national languages of Taiwan. But it is also important to note that not every single language and dialect in Taiwan was represented. So there's still progress that could be made. So this slide basically outlines a few of the major points of the National Language Development Act. For example, you can see that it emphasizes education for all levels of schooling from K through 12, and also dictates that they're setting out grants and awards for promotion of national languages, basically incentivizing the, not necessarily redevelopment, but reintegration of the national languages into regular use around Taiwan. So we can explore a little bit of media and culture that is in Tai-gi. First one I'll talk about is Pili, which literally means thunderbolt. It is a glove puppetry show, also known as Budaishi, that has been around since the mid-80s. There are so many seasons of this, and the reason I know is because my dad really likes it. And then there's also Detention, which is a TV series that was based on a video game, actually. And then the premise of this series is that they're in the White Terror when there was cultural suppression in Taiwan, and combined with local deities and those legends of the supernatural that come with that. So both of these, Pili and Detention, are available on Netflix. And at the very bottom here, we can see PTS Tai-gi, which was a television channel started in 2004, which was the very first mainly Taiwanese Hokkien channel in Taiwan, emphasizing kids and educational programming. So that is a very nice first step. A little bit more about media and culture. We're moving into music now. Hokkien pop is also known as Thai pop or T-pop. We can see a few bands and artists that have helped to bring Taiwanese Hokkien back into the spotlight when it comes to music in Taiwan. For example, Mayday. I'm seeing some love for Mayday in the chat. Their member Xin speaks fluent Taiwanese Hokkien in addition to Mandarin and has written songs that the band performs in Taiwanese Hokkien. Yeah.
So here we have a distribution of Taiwan's linguistic groups. It's mostly like the indigenous languages. So you can see that there's like many different languages throughout Taiwan. And so these are just some like common Taiwanese phrases, like greetings. So in English, when you say like hello in Chinese, you would say di ho. And if it's my name is, you would say wa se. And then if it's goodbye, you would say zai hui. And the middle column is just like how you would write it in Mandarin. And then there's like more comparison, but this chart is mainly focused on family names. So I'll just like talk about a few. So like for father, in Taiwanese Hokkien, you would say appa. Mother, you would say, there's two ways to say this. Some people say mama or abu. And then I guess like a lot of people might be calling their grandparents in Chinese, but you probably just didn't like recognize. So grandfather in Hokkien would be akong or wakong, depending on. So akong would be referring to your dad's side, wakong would be referring to your mom's side. And then for grandmother, you would say wama or ama or wama.
All right, let's jump right back to Kahoot. Hopefully you guys still have your Kahoot open. All right, let me reshare my screen. All right, let's continue. Mia. Okay. What does this word say? Nice.
Dang, you guys are geniuses. How do you guys get this?
Next. What does this word say? Okay. Wow. Okay. Where is Taiwanese Hokkien mostly used in Taiwan? Yes, the South. Ooh, streak going. All right. And last one. How do you say mother in Taiwanese Hokkien? All right, our little podium. Third place, Mia. Second, Havana. And first, Tiffany. Congratulations, everyone.
If I didn't get these questions right, I don't know what I'm doing because I'm the one who made them.
All right, awesome, guys. Come back to the PowerPoint.
So here, sorry. Oh, yeah. So here we have a slide of just other resources. You can learn you can learn more about Mandarin or Taiwanese Hokkien. So OT, there's it's an organization where they talk about Chinese history, culture, and Bite-Sized Chinese is a podcast. Cecilia Chen Chinese. This is a YouTube channel, and she makes a lot of like short clip videos for like teaching Chinese Mandarin and Chinese Hokkien. And the following two links. First link is it's a guide for reading and writing. And this last link is a combination of a lot of resources gathered by an individual in the Central Asian Chinese community. And the picture on the right is also like, just like more resources you can refer to.
Oh, Erica, do you want to explain that other slide?
Yeah,
I think we
Claire,
passed
could
by
you
it.
go back to the...
Yeah, I was like...
So over here, these are a few more links that you guys could use if you want to learn about Taiwanese or Mandarin Chinese. The first one is a YouTuber that is a Taiwanese like middle-aged guy. So his generation typically doesn't really use Taiwanese fluently, but in his case, he refuses to speak Mandarin. And his story is pretty interesting. So if you're interested in that, feel free to follow him on YouTube. The second link is an interview with him actually that summarizes the decline in Taiwanese in Taiwan and also his story. Taiwan Bar is a YouTube channel that covers all things Taiwan, politics, news, culture, history, etc. So if you're interested in that, you can also follow them. I'm not sure if all their videos have English subtitles though. If you're interested in popular culture in Taiwan, these are some movies and dramas that TSA board watches and enjoys. For movies, there's Cape No. 7 and Kano. Both of these were written by director Wei Sun, which we actually interviewed recently. Fun fact, if you guys went. Our Times was really popular too. It hit Korea and Japan and all that. So you guys probably heard of it before. There's also You're the Apple of My Eye and Your Name Engraved Herein, which is on Netflix right now. Dramas, there's In Time With You, Someday or One Day, which is the movie poster up on the top right, which was released a year ago or so. Really popular. Highly recommend. There's Rookie's Diary. This is a classic too. Kind of older, but I rewatched it recently. Pretty good. It's the middle poster, 新兵日记. It's also on YouTube. Then there's also Attention Love, The World Between Us, Refresh Man, and We Best Love. Some of these are on Viki if you want to watch it for free. Yeah.
So we'll be putting these all on a Google Doc and we'll be sharing it to our community page just so you guys can actually click on the links and look through them. Yeah. But yes, just want to give some last minute special thanks to LFT Outreach for Taiwan, Eric Tsai, and our prior TSA president, Serena Chai, I saw her somewhere here, for helping us with this. Also our advisor, Cai Lashi, for helping us with this workshop. And I also want to give thanks to our guest speakers, Yi Chuan Yu and also Havana Teng, for coming out and helping to speak about the Chinese comparison section. Yeah. But yeah, that's about it for our workshop. And thank you so much for coming. We really hope that you guys were able to get something from this workshop. But at least hopefully it boosted your interest in learning more about Taiwanese and Taiwan.